Welcome to Shotgun Sports USA. Recorded in the U.S. and streaming all over the world, we talk to shotgun shooters from all disciplines, championship-winning coaches, gun clubs, world-class target setters, vendors, and industry-leading companies that fuel the sport. Check us out online at shotgunsportsusa.com, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Instagram. Shotgun Sports USA is powered by Winchester Ammunition, the American legend. Also brought to you by Cole Gunsmithing, Castellani USA, and Ultimate Shooting Accessories. Rick Hemingway's Promatic Trap Sales, Sound Gear Phantom, Comp and Choke, Clay Shooter Supply, and Clay Target Vision. My guest today was in the 2022 Super Squad at the National Championship. He is from Florida and travels all over to shoot the big tournaments. He's a former PSCA pro and a heck of a nice guy. Please welcome to the show, Jonathan Henrici. Jonathan, welcome to the show. Glad to finally have you on.
I appreciate it, Justin. It's good talking to you.
You know, I saw you at Nationals this year. Then I saw you again at the Twilight Classic at the Meadows for the night shoot, and thought it'd be a good idea to have you on. Alex Clark started a new YouTube channel. I saw you on that for a few minutes also.
Yeah, it was. It's been fun. It's been fun catching up and running into each other. I was really happy to see you at the Twilight shoot. That was the first time I've been there.
Yeah,
and it was a great event all around. It was a lot of fun.
Shooting targets at night's a little different for sure. It'll make you feel like you know absolutely nothing about sporting clays.
My score certainly reflected that on the first day. I have shot at night at a 5-stand. We have one at Saltwaters, and so I'm used to it somewhat. But going out and shooting the field, I felt lost. It was kind of crazy. I know depth perception's an issue. I know kind of ways around it.
Mm-hmm.
But my 69 on the first day kind of said otherwise.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But hey, you came back on the second day. You did fine.
Yeah, it was a little foreboding when I decided to put chalk on my gun just to see how it worked out. And the first night, it started raining, so from right out the gate, my plan A certainly turned into plan B. So it was still fun regardless.
But the second night, now you shot an automatic, right?
Yeah, it was. It was a little bit of a change. So my buddy and I, Matt, we always we squad together when we can, and we've been running and gunning with each other, and we decided to kind of end the year with a little bit of fun. So we decided to shoot semi-automatics. He has his old camo gun that he shoots, Extrema.
Yeah.
I have an A400 X Plus that's a camo barrel, and we went out there to have fun, and we shot the Super Sport. What I will say though is with the camouflage gun at night, you can have a tendency of seeing where the gun is a little bit better. You can see that relationship to the target.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the way I normally shoot, but it definitely helped. For the first night, I shot 50%, and then when I shot my auto, I shot 100% on the first station. So I knew I was already on the right direction. So it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. It was just it was one of those things where you can't be serious all the time. And going out and shooting targets at night, it's a completely different environment. And shooting a fun gun just made it that much more of an enjoyable experience.
Yeah.
If you're shooting tournaments all the time and being serious, it can really wear on you.
Well, y'all shot that first night in the rain, I think too, so it probably helped out a little bit when it was dry the next day.
It did. The scores kind of reflected it too. I think 96 was high on Super Sport, and a 91 was high on Sporting, and then Sporting I think increased by 7 targets, and Wyatt ran 100 straight on the Super Sporting. So be it the elements, but still, regardless, there's some crazy scores that were shot at night.
Where are you from, and where do you live now, Jonathan?
So I am from Jacksonville, Florida, basically South Georgia. And right now I'm still there. I'm in just south in between Jacksonville, Florida, and St. Augustine.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
my home club is Saltwater Shooting Club. It's
Yeah.
right across from the airport, and it's I mean it's a neat place. It's an old converted racetrack, and I'm fortunate enough to work there with John Woolley, Nick, and Abby.
Who owns Saltwaters?
It's a gentleman named VJ Usina.
Okay.
He's a really nice guy. I mean, he's one of those people like you think Southern gentlemen kind of give you the shirt off his back. He is one of those people, and I'm lucky enough that he I can call him a good friend, and he gives me the opportunity to set targets out there at Saltwaters, along with another gentleman, Lonnie Pomar, and some other people help as well. But it for me, it's nice because I kind of get to drag everybody else kicking and screaming uh, to practice targets I want to practice.
Yeah. Didn't you live in Pennsylvania at one time?
I was there for a little bit.
I thought you were. Okay.
Yep, I was in Pittsburgh. Heather and Henley are up there. Uh, right now, life unfortunately is a little complicated.
Hmm.
My mom was sick, and I came down and helped her, and it's been unfortunately just a lot of health issues and things like that in our family. But everything's going to work out. I mean, I have utmost faith in that. It's just one of those seasons in life at the moment.
Yeah. I remember you might have heard me talk about this on the live stream at the Nationals. I remember you at the first tournament I attended, which was Bradford at the Florida Challenge. I think it was 16 or 17. And I mentioned that on the live coverage. I don't know if you heard that or not, but I think it's kind of funny that I can remember that.
It's unfortunately I didn't hear that. I kind of like during the live coverage of the Nationals, I kind of try to stay away from scores a little bit.
Yeah.
I know as you get more into the game, I try to kind of put myself in little bit of a bubble. But I do remember going to Bradford, that place. I still remember coming on the scene and definitely a big personality coming in and kind of want to shoot more and hanging out. And I still remember the truck ads like on Instagram where like you put your was it like the jacked up lifted
Oh yeah.
trucks
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
your foot slipping off of them.
Oh,
I still laugh die laughing about that.
yeah. That was a video. That's funny. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did you get started in sporting clays, and when and how?
So I went to school at Bucknell in Pennsylvania, and we had fall break, and it was one of those things that's like a 3 day break. It didn't make sense to go home and fly home for a couple days and fly back. So my dad has always been into hunting, and what they decided to do, or at least my mom, my dad at the time decided to do was they had a mutual friend over in Conneautville, like just south of Erie. So they went over, picked me up from school. We went over to his hunt reserve, and we went and hunted some birds. We went, I think it was like chukar and quail and some pheasant, mostly pheasant. Um, then from there, took him back to school. My dad actually started taking lessons from John Woolley. So John was maybe 45 minutes from our house.
Hmm.
He progressed and started doing better and better. The following year, my dad and I went out hunting again. He kicked my butt, and I'm a little naturally competitive. He kind of led on that he had been doing lessons. So from then, he kind of said, "Yeah, I've been working with John Woolley. If you want to take lessons, take lessons." So he helped me with that, and naturally, just from trying to get ready for hunting, I fell in love with shooting clay targets. So when I started getting into it, I remember up in Amelia Island, I had an old push cart with a old Browning Satori 30-inch Sports Comp Pro, and I would reload shells and push around the course and go shoot targets.
When was that? Do you
So
remember what year that was?
that would have been like when I was 23. So that would have been, geez, I'm terrible at math. That would have been 2009. That would have been like 11, 13 probably.
Yeah.
2011, 2013.
Yeah.
And then I really started getting into more like the competitive circuit like a couple years after that, shooting tournaments, and then probably 16, 17 when he came down to Bradford is when we saw each other.
Yeah. Yeah. So who did you look up to when you started shooting?
He's a good friend. I mean, I use colleague loosely because I'm always like learning from him. I mean, we're always going over things, working on mechanics. When he's working with a student, I'm lucky enough to be in the office and kind of see what he does in terms of tweaking and his gun fit and the way he works with people and kind of figuring out where their position of the body needs to be is I mean, he's a master at it. So I'm lucky enough to keep learning from that. People look up to as well. I mean, it's one of those things where it's kind of neat is I never saw people like that. I would say that like I looked up to, but there's people that like I met as I shot that they always kind of turn into great people. So like Bill McGuire. I mean, obviously you've talked to Bill and met him. He's just such a huge personality and great person to talk to. I still a person I remember talking to at a Gator Cup was Pat Liskey.
Mm-hmm.
He won nationals, and I was like in C class, and I remember shooting the Gator Cup or the Seminole Cup back in the day when it was still at Quail Creek, and shot with him. And I thought it was crazy that I'm here shooting with a national champion, and he's just a really easy guy to talk to. Uh, so I mean, there is a list of them. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess my list kind of changes as I get older,
Yeah.
because I kind of understand what's going on. I mean, Zach's a person I look at. Anthony's a person I look at. Right now, Derek he's someone else I look up to. I mean, like it's amazing what all these different guys are doing now in their own kind of like perspective fields.
Yeah. Yeah. Pat he he shot Super Squad this year.
Yeah,
He's always been a really good shooter. And it's funny when you get into the sport, uh, looking up to these people, kind of as far as the sport's concerned, and then becoming friends with them is pretty neat. It's
oh, it's
you know
so. I mean, talking about that, kind of like threading into it, like the Super Squad this year.
hmm
So I was thinking about like I didn't really look at scores. I got into the Super Squad. I was in like the final group, and I'm sitting there like read the online because it's posted online. I'm like looking at the scores, like oh Zach's up front. Okay, that makes sense. Read next down. It's like Thea. I was like okay, that's
hmm
pretty neat. And I see like Anthony. And I'm like, then I look down. It's like then I see my name. I'm like all right, obviously one of these is not like the other. Like
right.
like in terms of like resumes and people you see and like winning stuff. I mean, it's like it was really kind of surreal for me on that last day. It sounds weird, but I felt kind of almost like a spectator in a way because like you get to look, you see all these people you see, the people you look up to, people you like, they're your competition, but at the same time, you're like, you know, you're not on the same level as them. And so it's like, it was kind of really interesting kind of learning experience from my perspective.
Yeah. Well, you were that week for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
so you were on the
Yeah.
rotation final day with Zach, and that was, I think,
Yeah.
the top four shooters. So it was the last squad to finish, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And someone in your squad, they were supposed to win, and that happened. And
Yeah.
you know,
I watched it happen. I followed it.
I remember you coming up to Station 10, and you were in that last squad. What was it like for you shooting with these guys and knowing that one of them was going to win?
It was it was wild. I mean, I saw Derek go up first. He was in the squad before us. I mean, great guys talking to him. And before we even got started, I kind of like got there a little early and I was sitting down at the bench and um, Derek came over to me. He's like, "Hey man, just take it in." I mean, all these guys are so encouraging, which was kind of something you don't really think would happen.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, everybody's kind of wants to beat you at your best, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, so I mean, and then Zach was very encouraging, and so he said, "Hey man, just it's one period at a time. Just stick with it. You just got to grind it out." And one of the things I saw is like Zach. I mean, Zach the last round didn't have the greatest. He didn't have the greatest round. I
Right.
mean, but he did well enough to win. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
and that kind of shows you that's a great learning experience. I mean, you don't have to do everything right all the time and still pull out a victory. It'd be nice, but it's not the reality of the situation.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, kind of going into it, it was it was neat to see everybody go. Like I said, Derek went in, he ran it. Some other guys dropped one. I mean, it was a nasty first station. I mean, it was not one of those stations. If you said, "Hey, can I have a station? Can I get comfortable, get in the groove?" That's not the one you wanted. Like
No.
it was a
No.
nasty trap bird going out above that tree that looked like it was a midi. I mean, it was out there.
Yeah.
Um,
How
but
far do you think
it
that
was
was?
I don't know. I mean, that tree had to start at least at 35, and it was at a 45-degree angle going out. And I mean, it was a load of spring too.
Yeah, it was.
Um, everybody. I mean, what was wild is everybody was shooting over the top of it though. You could hear it. You could hear the shot hitting off the top, and it was just. I mean, I think Zach ran it, Derek ran it, Brandon ran it. Theo, I think missed a couple. I think Anthony missed one. I missed two. So it was a little shaky start, but I will say, like shooting behind Zach, I gotta talk to him about it in the future. But man, he makes me I don't get anxiety, but watching him shoot was like making me anxious.
Why?
Like, like he would shoot birds. Like so, it was surreal because like so he would shoot birds later than I would ever feel comfortable shooting, and like obviously it works.
Yeah.
But then like on the other hand, like I would like kind of make my plan and I would see how everything going. I'd see Anthony shoot, and my plans were kind of very similar with Anthony. I've worked with Anthony in the past, so I kind of understand a little bit of what he's thinking and like how he's approaching targets. And it was one of those things where like I watched him shoot, and I was like, all right, that's how I want it. That's how I wanted to execute it, but I didn't. So that's just on me. So I had the right game plan, just poor execution. But then like I look at Zach and like his game plan is completely different, and he's executing it, and I mean he's tearing it up. So it was definitely interesting to watch like all the different kind of approaches, how everybody was breaking things, and what kind of system works best for me.
Now, when you're behind Zach in that situation and he's not doing anything like you plan to do you put your head down and go, all right, I'm not watching this, or do you just keep watching just because he's
I
hitting?
will. So it was funny. It's like it's completely opposite of how my week was earlier. So I shot behind Joe Finizzi for the first 3 days.
Right.
And I mean, there's nothing more confidence inspiring than watching Joe shoot and just grind targets, literally just ink dots all over the place. I don't think he chipped anything,
Yeah.
um, but he was just grinding everything. So Joe shoots everything fast, and then Zach shot everything slow, at least later than I felt comfortable shooting.
Right.
Uh, I would rather see Zach shoot because I can see the flight of the bird. I can kind of rehearse. Whereas when Joe shot, where I would shoot it like there was no bird. Like it was
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
I had to make believe like where I wanted to shoot the bird. So so it was but it ended up working out. So
Yeah. Yeah. Now, how did you like the idea of the super squad, and did it feel that it kept you on your game the whole week more than it would have been if you were just shooting with some other random squad?
I think uh I think it's a great idea. I really enjoyed it. I think it definitely elevated everybody's game around us. The I definitely felt more nervous shooting in our super squad behind Joe. I mean, our squad was phenomenal. It was Joe Finizzi, Nick Berry, and then also Mike Deanda. So I
Yep.
mean, three other gentlemen, super nice, good shots. I mean, they're great competitors. So there's no way that you couldn't kind of elevate everything. And then by the first day, we kind of got in a rhythm too. So everything was really nice. I mean, it was a good flow for our squad. So I think for in my case, it definitely elevated our group. I enjoyed it. I mean, I don't think I would have shot as well as I did if I was in another squad, to be honest.
Yeah.
Um, and also for me, from like a personal perspective, I like the super squad. My goal going into it, I qualified last year by shooting, I think it was M15 at nationals, and I kind of like barely skated in. For me, who trying to go into it, winning a regionals is a tall order. I mean, I'm still trying to work on winning a state shoot. But to be able to shoot on the super squad by placing well at nationals is a realistic goal for me.
Yeah.
And I was kind of it feels kind of like a way of like kind of backdooring it and getting into it. But
Hmm.
at the end of the day, I mean, I did a little bit better this year. My goal was good, do top 15 again. I was managed to get I think M10 this year.
You
I
did.
think it was
Yeah.
13th overall, and so I'm looking forward to doing it again next year. I mean, it's a wonderful experience. It's a ton of fun. I mean, there's nothing crazier than looking like sitting in the road, looking around, and watching like Mike Williams, watching Zach, watching Derek, watching Kevin and Michael, watch all these guys just grind targets, and it's like it's just kind of surreal. It's like it's just I mean, the best of the best are there.
Do I deserve to
Yeah, it's
be
like
here?
the
Really? Yeah.
oh no, and it's like it's I mean people, and then like on the flip side, you'll see someone miss something, and you're like, I can't believe they missed that. But I mean, it happened to everybody. Like nationals, unfortunately, is a pressure cooker. You're not gonna hit every target, even though you feel like you should.
That's a good point you just brought up. You'd see them. some of the best in the world missing some. And that's, I see it in kids all the time. They miss one and they get mad and it just totally messes up their round because they can't overcome that. Everybody for the most part, everybody misses, right? You might have someone like Wyatt last weekend that straight to course, but for the most part, everybody's going to miss. And you just got to figure out how to overcome that and continue on with a good attitude and forget about that loss. You're never going to get that target back. It's out there growing other targets. Okay. So
right.
That's a big deal that people need to understand that starting out in this stuff is you're going to miss. And that's how you learn from is missing for sure. The best in the world do it.
And it's how you carry yourself after you that miss. I mean, there's so many times you talk about a different pair, but there's so many times where you miss one, you make it into two. And that's almost worse than say missing a bird, getting frustrated, than going out and kind of missing another bird.
Yeah.
Because you should be transitioning thoughts to that second target, how you get to kill it, and you're already kind of still lingering in the past, and that's not going to help you. That's not going to help you in any way.
Yeah. I like to highlight people in the sport that are movers and shakers, and just won something or have something to do with the sport, and that's why I've got you on here. You finished M9 in the K Cup, which is good.
Yeah.
And you finished M10 in the main event, and I was. Yep. You mentioned last year you finished 15th, so I'm assuming that this is your best year at nationals this past year.
So this is in the main event wise, this is the best of main event finish I've had.
Yeah.
Last year I shot well in FETASC. I ended up, I think it was M2 in FETASC. So that FETASC is kind of more my wheelhouse than anything else. That's kind of where I tend to perform better. But sporting is at nationals is kind of what I've been more concentrating on and kind of what I've been practicing leading up to the actual event.
Yeah.
I think last year was a 96. I shot a 95 in the FETASC, and I missed the very last target in FETASC on the pairs to shoot a 95. And that was definitely a lesson in its own.
I cannot get into FETASC for some reason. I think what got me in FETASC is how long it takes.
The new style is way better. It's a lot of fun.
I agree. It's quicker, but it's still like, my God, shoot the singles and go shoot the doubles. I'm thinking, can I shoot all of them right now? That's the kind of mindset I'm on.
I think that's what AFS is all about.
Yeah, I need to, and I haven't shot that. I need to try that. I have not shot AFS.
Yeah, I haven't done. I've kind of done market disservice. I haven't participated in that yet, but I hear it's a ball of fun.
Yeah. So Super Squad, did you find anything about it that was an inconvenience or bothersome, or is there anything that you would change with it?
My experience was definitely. I look back as a huge learning experience, kind of like about myself, how I deal with pressure, adversity. The only thing that I feel like was kind of out of my control that I kind of got a little irritated about was definitely the last day of all the carts. I know how Zach had kind of talked about in the past, but it was it was tough because we were going in, and of course everybody has a Polaris or a big Can-Am, and it's just congested to begin with. But then trying to park over to the side and try to get to where you can walk to actual station, I found myself having to walk like 25. I'd have to walk 25 yards, and then shoot, then walk back. And by the time I got back to my cart, everybody had left because they were following our squad, and then I'm just following the tail again. I don't think anybody really saw it, but Zach actually almost got clipped going into Station 10. Someone was going down the road and almost hit him on his left shoulder, and going down the road. So there was just too much traffic. I think it should I think if they left the center all for pedestrians and let the shooters kind of go on the grass, I think that would help out a lot with the congestion.
Well, it won't be that way next year. They honestly, nobody thought it was going to be that many people there, but it was unbelievable at the amount of people in attendance just watching.
It was awesome. It was definitely something I've never seen before. I've seen shoot-offs. I've seen some of the world shoot-offs, things like that. The kind of the decision making and the kind of energy going into that last kind of they call it death row. That was that was pretty wild. I mean, like you could definitely see like the pressure kind of getting on some people. You can see where some people rose to it, and some people kind of crumpled to it a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. Would you think that if the NSCA or some of the club owners decided to do a super squad at all of the regionals, the U.S. Open and the Nationals, that you'd be a player in that?
Yeah, I mean, doing it from my perspective, I think it's a great thing for the sport.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's nice because I think too, from a competitive perspective, there's no griping. Like, unfortunately, you hear people complain about rotation sometimes, like getting a bad kind of draw. This regard, I mean, there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, it's kind of nice to see how that works.
Yeah. And everybody always talks about, man, when the shoot's over and they have shoot offs, or they have the North versus South, and or the Top Gun. It's like nobody wants to stay. Some people do, but not everybody. But this, I think everybody,
Yeah,
I think everybody stayed for this, and I thought it was really neat.
there's definitely a lot of people. I know a lot of people packed up they're packed up ready to go, and they took a late start getting home just to watch the final, how everything kind of finished out, packed up their stuff and then left. I mean, so I had to go teach in Houston, and I was looking at the parking lot. I'm usually one of the last people to leave. Going to go do lessons over there, and there was still a ton of buggies, a ton of trailers, a ton of trucks in that lower kind of parking field,
Yeah.
which is a good sign.
Mm-hmm. You've done fairly well in 22. You finished out nationals well. What have you been doing to stay towards the top? I mean, you've been every time it's FETASC as well. You'll be towards the top at most of the shoots you attend. What have you been doing to stay up there?
So it sounds weird, but I kind of changed my practice schedule a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I am fortunate. I realize that I work at a gun club. Granted, like 5 o'clock rolls around, it does take a little bit of kind of pushing to go out practice a little bit. But what I've been doing is a lot of like maybe 3 days a week. I'll go practice. I know it sounds like a lot, but I'll shoot 75 targets or 100 targets. I'll do like a really quick, intense practice, working on some fundamentals. I really focus on singles, just kind of grinding out mechanics, trying to look at targets, kind of work on something that was kind of been weak in my kind of skill set. And then that's what I've been doing. I mean, it's not a lot. I mean, it's just kind of slow and steady practice on things. I haven't done high volume stuff. When you start shooting, like at least for me, when I start shooting like 300 shells or something like that, it's just a diminishing return. Like I just feel like I'm throwing a gun up and wasting money.
Yeah.
One of the other things I've been doing is I've been shooting some skeet, especially like going into nationals. I would shoot maybe 3 times a week, and then maybe one day I would shoot 50 to 100 skeet targets, and I would shoot subs. So I have barrels for my gun, so I shoot 28 gauge or 410. And it sounds weird, but especially with 410, you can feel your hands almost kind of brace for the shot. You can feel like that tension in your hands. And I started shooting 410. I could feel like more flow, like more working with the target and kind of not worried about the recoil or anything. So it was, that's kind of what I did just this past year, just kind of changed a little bit of how I practiced.
Yeah.
Um,
Shooting a 410. I mean, it makes you want to fall forward before you take. Recoil
oh
always
my
pushes you
goodness.
back. Shoot a
I
410 out of a
swear,
gun like that.
well, the thing is, like a half ounce goes out your gun, and like 20 feet later, you just don't know where it goes. Like there's stuff I could swear would break, and it just does not break. And
Yeah.
I reload, so it makes it a little bit more cost effective for me. I
Yeah.
will say one of the other things I do is I do keep a log. Like I journal what I shoot. Lanny Basham, I mean, Wendell Cherry has worked with Lanny Basham. He has a goal set, everything like that. But it kind of keeps you an idea of where your deficiencies are, where you've kind of fixed things, and then you can kind of go back and see how your year has progressed going into it. So I think that's always very beneficial. But it comes down to at the end of the day when you shoot and you practice and you come home, like you gotta sit down at the desk and write it out. It takes 15, 20 minutes, but it's really easy to ignore and say, hey, I'll do it tomorrow. And usually when that happens, it never gets done.
So when you go shoot, if you're missing left or right crossers, or you missed a
Hmm.
few of them, you write. How do you? what do you write in your journal?
Speed, angle, distance. So I want to be able to look at my notes. This is a very big Anthony thing. When you ask him, I kind of, I should take a step back. When I teach or I coach, things like that, I do the same things as, say, like Anthony and John does. If I have a student come up to me, I want them to be able to tell me how to set that target up so I can go out in the field and duplicate it for them.
Hmm.
So what I do is I worry about speed, angle, and distance. So I see the speed. Was it off speed, fast? I can you can usually kind of get a feel for it. Sometimes if you're around machines, you can see what type of springs on it and kind of go that a little more depth in that way.
Right.
And then angle. So is it quartering out, quartering in? Is it going up at 45? Is it leaning back? Do you see dome? Do you see belly? And then distance. Like where does the trap start? Where is it falling from? So with those kind of three pieces, you should be able to go out. I should be able to take my notebook, hand it to you, give you an impact wrench, and you should be able to recreate it.
Right.
If that makes sense. So that's the kind of stuff I look at.
Yeah. That's interesting. I mean, I've heard of people writing notes down, but I didn't know you got that in depth with it. That's interesting.
Well, so it's for me, like if I go to a shoot, I mean, you have to be able to and have some practicality and things. But if there's a target, I want to be able to go back to my home club and be able to set that target because it's something that's going to bother me because I
Hmm.
want to be able to figure it out. Granted, I mean, when you start going to the big shoots and there's 100-foot towers, like yeah, you got to kind of
Yeah.
you don't have much of an opportunity to figure that one out, or you're shooting way below your feet.
Hmm.
You kind of don't have that opportunity, but that's kind of part of fun of the game
Yeah.
because you gotta figure it out on the fly, and sometimes you guess right, sometimes you guess wrong.
Yeah. You working with you. You've brought up you work with John Woolley. What is your role there? What do
Hmm.
you do?
So I help with sales, and also I'm one of the instructors. So we'll do corporate clinics, things like that. If we have a large group, I'm kind of like the low man on the totem pole. John will usually tap Dale to go with him. They've been working together the longest. When there's a large group, John will ask me to come with, and I'm more than happy to oblige. On the other hand, I'll be at the club, and I have people come in and do lessons, but also there's a huge local population, weekend warriors, hunters, especially in our area, that are looking for lessons and looking to get better.
The sport as a whole. Uh, and I ask a lot of people this just to get their different opinions. What would you like to see happen within the sport over the next 5 years?
If I could kind of just wag a wand or wave a wand,
Yep.
I wish ammo prices would go down. Like it's been tough. It's been tough, especially like in terms of we're trying to order ammunition for our own students.
Mhm.
Um, I know. I mean, ever since COVID, production has been very difficult. You kind of just happy with what you get. I mean, everybody's been saying they used to have a favorite shell, and like the most common comment now is like, "What do you shoot?" It's like whatever I can get.
Yeah.
And it would be nice to see that the supply kind of come back through and come around. I mean, I can't remember. It sounds kind of crazy, but like a great shell that I've never seen, I haven't seen in it has to be 4 years. Is I'm not sure if you remember the Nitro 27s, the 1 ounce 1290 Remingtons.
Hmm.
I have not seen one of those in ages. Like
Hmm.
it's one of those things where like there are people that are shooting that shell, but like it's just not, you just can't find it.
Like, where are they getting it from?
Um, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
usually, I mean, granted, it's usually sponsored shooters, but it's kind of like I don't understand why people are getting sponsored to shoot a product that they can't even sell. It's like it
Yeah.
doesn't make sense to me.
What is your go-to shell? What do you like to shoot?
I have within the past kind of 8 years, 7 years, I have become a huge Winchester fanboy. Like it sounds silly, but I shoot a Blaser.
Hmm.
One of the things I did, I talking to Rollins and some of the other guys, they had their guns worked by Eyster, so
Yeah.
I set my gun to Eyster, and I had Winchester double A's tuned to my barrels, and man, it's when I put it in the right spot, it's hellacious on targets. I mean, I love it. If there's I get instant kind of confidence when I put that shell on my gun and I shoot a target. I know it's not the shell, it's me, and when I get a good break, it kind of just builds my confidence. And I mean, it's one of those things like if you believe in what you have, it doesn't have to be a Winchester. If you have confidence in the product,
Yep.
and you know that if money's on the line and you put it in your gun, and you know it's going to do its job, and it's just up to you. It doesn't make a difference.
So do you have fixed barrels? I'm assuming
Nope, I do not.
you have
So
Oyster
Blaser,
chokes.
it's
Okay.
yes, yeah. So as much as
Okay.
I have talked to Blaser and tried to get them to make me a fixed barrel because that's what I want, they refuse to do it. So I have a set of extreme chokes.
Okay.
So they're tuned to my gun, and right now I'm shooting. I believe it's a 17 thousandths or 18 thousandths. It's like the Eyster 2 Plus, I think is what he calls them.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that guy, I don't know what he did, pixie dust or whatever, but man, when he worked on my gun, it's a blazer, but it doesn't feel like a blazer, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it. He had done work on a gun for me before, and I had fixed
Hmm.
barrels, and he made them. I don't know. I think it was 18, 18, 17, 17,
Yeah,
whatever it is that he
yeah.
does, and it would boil targets. Like
Oh,
it's unbelievable.
and it's soft. The recoil is soft. Like it's just, it took
Yeah.
it basically, it sounds, I ported my gun too. I look back at it, I kind of, probably shouldn't have done that. But I kind of joke around. I said, my gun definitely has more bark than it does bite.
I just look at it like, my gun don't seem to jump at all, and I don't. Maybe it's just because I'm a bigger guy and it's up. I don't know, but it doesn't move much. And then I look, all right, well, Anthony's got it done, Derek's got it done, Zach's got it done,
Yeah,
Corey's got it done. Well, if all these guys have it done, it's got to be doing something.
yeah.
So
The only thing is my friends kind of, they kind of do rock paper scissors, and don't want to shoot behind me because under the tin roof. So it's scatter. One person stays in the that has to shoot behind me, and everybody else scatters when I'm
yeah,
under a tin roof. So,
almost blows
but
the whole
it's
roof off.
oh, it's loud. It's not Browning porting loud, but it's loud.
Yeah. We were talking about that the other day. I don't know if you was there or not. We were talking about Brown and Portons. It's gotten to be the loudest porting there is.
Oh man, I don't know what it is. That's like, it's guttural. You can feel it in your chest.
Yeah, it's nuts. So you're coaching. Do you coach
Hmm.
individuals, or are you just
Yep,
coaching as clinics?
I do both.
Okay.
I'm fortunate enough to have the experience of doing both clinics and do personal lessons.
Hmm.
I tend to like doing personal lessons more because I enjoy having the conversation with people. I enjoy kind of fine tuning the lesson to the individual.
Yeah.
Like there's a gentleman today I worked with. He was a acrobat pilot, and he went in and he said, "I want to buy a gun. I want to do lessons." Like, all right, well, it's what, 4:45 in the evening, and we close at 5. He came in yesterday, and I asked him, like, "Are you left or right eye dominant?" He goes, "I'm right eye dominant." It's like, all right, let's just double check. And sure enough, he's left eye dominant, and he is. Well, I've always thought it was right eye dominant, and we did the test, and John was there, and I was like, all right, let's double check him. So I had John take a look at him too, and he's left eye dominant. He came out today, and first time shooting left-handed. I mean, he was mashing targets. I mean, it's to me, it's fun to see these people that have never shot before, or kind of like just clay. They soak it in, and they just start having success, and it's amazing to see. It's awesome to see. It's a great feeling.
Yeah.
Um, the only thing I would say is, like, what stinks sometimes is I get too invested in how my students do. Like, I want them to do so well. But I feel like if they say don't have the best day, I feel like I kind of take it upon myself. I feel bad, like there's something I didn't do, but
Yeah.
I did everything I could, and that's all I can do.
Yeah. That's right. Now, where's John's place? Where do you work out of? Is it at Saltwaters?
It is. It's
Okay.
at Saltwater Shooting Club. It's kind of neat. It's an old racetrack.
Hmm.
You can actually go. It's called the St. Augustine Speedway. You can actually go online and go to YouTube. You can actually see the old racetrack videos, and it was a mile track, I believe. It was dirt, and then they paved it, and it went back to dirt. It's wild. Like our actual office is, there's a big 2-story building. The upstairs was the VIP area. We kind of turned that into like the clinic area and the offices.
Hmm.
And downstairs is where our vault is, where our office or more shopping areas. Um,
Yeah. Let's talk about that for a minute. Now, what do you sell there? How many
mhm.
do you have a good bit on hand? And How does that
Yeah.
work? How does the whole thing work?
So we currently we man from talking to John, we are the largest Blazers seller this past year. We were I believe we just turned into the largest Zoli dealer this year. We sold the most Caesar Greenies as well. We also carry Berettas. We carry Yildiz Pro Stars and then Fab Arms, and then we carry a slew of consignment guns that people are looking for. We also have a ton of field guns, and also we do pistols as well. I mean, we're at a gun range, so we have rifles, pistols. So we'll have people on the range come in. They are looking for something. If we can get our hands on it, we'll order it for them. But we kind of have like a mixed bag of everything. But definitely our wheelhouse is shotgun sports.
Yeah, and you're everywhere. John Woolley's everywhere. He might not be there
Yeah,
himself, but his people are everywhere with his
yeah.
products.
He. I mean, John does a very good job at um, representing his brand and making sure that his customers are satisfied. That's one of the things that we do. I know Nick and Abby go out of their way and make sure that everybody's happy. I mean, if there's something that goes sideways or people that are kind of a little upset about something, we make sure that it's right. We make sure that we everything within our power gets done to get everybody happy. And that's why you see people so excited about wearing a woolly hat or wearing a woolly shooting vest. It's a good thing. And what's crazy about it is we've used zero advertising dollars really.
Yeah,
It's mostly all word of mouth. So I mean, that's the best kind of advertising you have.
yeah. Well, he's been around it a long time, and a lot of people know who he is. That's for sure. You know.
There's no doubt about that.
So, what's your shooting schedule looking like for next year?
This next year, I am looking currently, I always do the Florida State shoot, the Georgia State shoot. Um, I'm kind of really looking at hitting more of the bigger shoots
Hmm.
and not doing so much of the big blasts. So I want to do the Southeast Regional, looking at the Northeast Regional because Anthony's having that big, I think it's a North American VTAS shoot up there. So I would like to finally shoot that event well. Covey Rise has the South Central, I believe. North Central is over in Northbrook, and then the Western is over in Denver. So
That'd be cool.
I think yeah, we have a friend over there that he's already kind of talking about trying to get a group of us to go out there and shoot. So
Yeah.
uh, that'd be really interesting to shoot in elevation and somewhere different. I mean,
Hmm.
it's nice as you know how it is. Like you've been shooting long enough. You kind of go to the same places over and over again, just simply for the fact that they're the only ones that can hold big events.
Yep.
That's why it was so nice. Like Cross Creek held something.
Hmm.
Covey Rise is holding something this next year, and then you obviously have Denver holding something. So I'm probably gonna do like three of those, and then I this past year the U.S. Open is doing a super squad as well. So I'm actually gonna for the first time go out to Arizona
Hmm.
and shoot in the desert. Uh, it sounds silly, but because I am on the super squad for that, because I qualified for the nationals this past year,
Hmm.
I don't want to let that kind of opportunity go to waste. I want to kind of put myself in that crucible, shoot with other good shooters, and just gain as much experience as I can. Because honestly, I don't know when I'm going to have the opportunity again. I mean, you kind of got to strike when the iron's hot.
That's right. So the Super Squad's going to be at the U.S. Open this year. Or
My understanding is yes,
uh,
yeah, they're going to do a super squad there.
I like to hear that you want to go because of that. That's cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I've kind of refrained from going to the regionals out there and doing other shoots just because of travel. But now because well, one, it's a U.S. Open, and two, it's a super squad event. I know that's an opportunity I can't really pass up.
Yeah.
It kind of pushes me over the hump on deciding whether or not to go.
Yeah. So do you plan on going to World English or World Feed Task?
I don't know. That's one still up of the year. If I go to one, it's going to be World Fee Task. I believe that's what in Hungary,
Hmm. Yeah.
and that seems like that's going to be. I mean, that'd be a fun event. I have yet to go to England as well. All I hear is good things about EJ Churchill. I know I'll get over there eventually, but probably one trip overseas is all I can really probably get away from this year. I wanted to go to Italy last year, just things don't work out.
Yeah.
But it's but it's just one of those things where, yeah, I mean, if you ever get a chance to go overseas, I highly recommend it. It's an absolute blast. I mean, it's a completely different environment. I mean, I enjoy traveling. Heather doesn't really like the fact that I travel to go shoot, but I do enjoy traveling and go visiting new places. And yeah, it's a great experience.
What do you think about the shoot they're having over in, I don't know how to say it, overseas,
No,
close to Dubai?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about. It's gonna be interesting. I mean, it's
Yeah.
I saw Digweed had some posts about it. I mean, they have some
Mm-hmm.
earth movers. They're building terrain. There's going to be a huge purse.
Yep.
I mean, it's it'll be. I mean, the first one's always difficult, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it'll be neat to see how everybody feels about it. I think it's going to be one of those things like they had a couple years ago or 3 or 4 years ago. They had it was the what not Doha, but it was the Qatar shoot or the Dubai.
Dubai. Yeah.
It was Dubai. Yeah, I think it's gonna be basically like the Dubai shoot. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
whole lot of money that they're giving away, and it's gonna be kind of a unparalleled experience.
Yeah. I'd love to go. I'd love to go to shoot, but I'd just go to watch. I mean, I'd like to just go over there
Yeah,
just to see the place, you know, but that's not going to
yeah,
happen this year. I want to go to EJ. I'm probably going to go there and see that. I've always wanted to see EJ Churchill, and you know,
right.
FETASC is right. I think the week after that, and I don't know if you stay for that or if you come back or whatever. I mean, I don't, like I told you before, I don't like FETASC. So, and if you got to walk,
Yeah,
if you have to walk and shoot FETASC, I'm probably out. So,
it's only 50 targets a day.
well, yeah, well,
Well,
they're gonna have to have a school bus drag me around. I can tell you that.
oh man, I will say Europe in the summer with no AC is certainly interesting. So
Yeah, that's
yeah,
what
you
I've been
got to think
asking.
about that.
Yeah, I talked
Yeah,
to Will Fennell today. And he was well, it might have been yesterday, whenever it was, and I said, Will, he asked me if I had tickets to go yet. I said, no, not yet. And he was telling me the hotel I need to stay at. I said, well, I only have one question: do they have air? Because if they
yeah,
don't, I'm not going there. You know,
yeah,
so
yeah,
yeah, it'll be fun. Next year will be good. I think this super squad is. I think they need to do it every. I mean, I think every big shoot needs to have something similar. Um, I think it's fun to watch. It's fun to be a part of for the people that get to be a part of it, and
yeah.
I think the people like seeing it. You know.
I think it for sure. It's one of those things where I mean, the problem is people kind of load up and they're out for shoot offs. Like if you're gonna see someone shoot off for an event, I mean they're usually gone. But like this is kind of set time, place. You know what it is. You know what it's gonna be. You know someone's gonna be decided right then and there.
Mm-hmm.
And then say you find out somebody ties for HOA at the end. I mean, what's another hour to stay and watch them shoot off?
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of nice to like see how everything kind of comes to a head. And I mean, we've been trying to figure out ways of making the sport more interesting and entertaining and add drama. And I mean, everything is right there in front of you. So I don't see another option that you could do that would be better that would
Nope.
fulfill that criteria.
I agree 100%. I think it's a move in the right direction. I'm glad they did it, and I know they're going to do it again next year. So, uh,
Without a doubt.
and you'll be on it again as long as the criteria is the same. You'll be on it again. So
Yeah,
there you go.
I mean, I hope they. Well, I mean, if they bump it just to M10, I can live with that. So, but
They're supposed to tighten it up a little bit as far as the criteria is concerned because
mhm,
they're wanting to run the women and the men at the same time, which will be cool to see. And
yeah,
as long as it's M10 and
yeah.
better, you're good.
I mean, I think Halen she was right in the mix. I
Yeah.
mean, the whole thing. I mean,
Hmm.
there was the ladies put up some great scores this year, and I mean, there's no reason they shouldn't be showcased like that.
And I'll tell you something. If you haven't ever watched the women shoot, they are unbelievable, especially the ones at the top.
Mm-hmm.
Unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Oh,
Halen shot up there with the best. I mean,
yeah.
that was, she shot unbelievably.
Oh,
So,
I mean, I know. I mean, she broke targets I didn't break. So I mean,
yeah, yeah,
it's one of those things.
that's right. Well, listen, man, I appreciate you spending some time with me. I'm glad the people got to hear from you, and um, wish you all the best in the future, and look forward to seeing you next time.
Yeah, definitely. I appreciate it. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah.
Henley would be mad at me if I didn't say hi to her. So
We'll say hi to her.
love you, Henley.
There you
I'll
go.
see you guys in a little while.
All right. Well, we'll see you next time. Jonathan, I appreciate you coming on, bud.
All right.
All right, man.
I appreciate it, Justin. Thank you
man.
for the opportunity.
Yes, sir. We'll see you.